Hey, what's up guys? Matt here from Laidlaw's Harley-Davidson. So I'm coming to you today with another Spotlight bike. Customer of ours, Jim, I want to thank him for allowing me to feature his bike on the YouTube channel here. So he did a 2020 Road King special in the vivid black, and he decked this thing all out. He's got the 131 stage kit that was just announced a few months ago, and he's got everything from the endgame collection on there, full Olhins suspension. He did the inverted front end by Kraus as well. Got a bunch of black powder coating on here and a bunch of other goodies. So this thing is definitely a hot rod. I'm going to be taking it out, ripping it around a little bit, and kind of showing off all the accessories and custom work that he's got bolted up onto this bike.
All right, guys, let's jump into this 2020 model year Road King special in vivid black. I'm going to be going over all the parts and everything that Jim had installed on this bad boy. This is pretty much your all-in performance bagger Road King style here. So let's start off with the front forks. So he went with a Kraus inverted front end on here, and the Kraus utilizes the Olhins suspension. He's also got Olhins suspension in the rear. He went with the FL Blackline 310 SSS suspension in the rear. So he's got a full Olhins on this thing, and it rode like a dream. So the front headlamp is the Harley-Davidson genuine part, the LED Daymaker, and that's the adaptive Daymaker, which is the brand new headlight that came on the CVOs this year. He's also got that wind splitter windshield that has that really cool smoke tint that really goes along with the whole blacked out theme of this bike. You've got the front fender by Devious Designs. It's like a wraparound fender. It really makes the front wheel look bigger than it is. This is a 19-inch Prodigy wheel, which is the stock wheel that comes on this bike. And he used the stock Brembo brakes. It was interesting. I talked to Jim and we talked about brakes, and he's done a lot of the aftermarket performance brakes in the past, and he still just feels like the Brembo brakes that come from the factory are the most reliable and just stop the best as well. So he stuck with that. He's also got that little cowl, that little chin spoiler that wraps around the oil cooler on there. And the crown jewel here, he's got the 131 Milwaukee 8 Stage 4 upgrade kit. This is a kit that was recently announced, I want to say 4 or 5 months ago, and this thing is an absolute beast. He's got a ventilator style air cleaner on here as well. And we didn't install this kit here at our dealership. Unfortunately, the 131 kit here is still not California legal. It's not CARB compliant. So all the aftermarket work and everything that was installed on this bike was actually done at another dealership out of state. We were kind of bummed about that we couldn't do the work, but it is what it is. He's got all the badging on here as well, the 131 emblems on the rocker box covers and on the cam timer cover there, which is something that I think is nice that Harley-Davidson's done recently, because in the past they didn't have those medallions to really show off exactly how many cubic inches you're pumping out of this beast. So he's got the endgame collection for his foot controls, his brake pedal, his highway pegs as well. I really like the endgame collection a lot. You've got this really cool like industrial look, a lot of raw metals there. I feel like it really gets a lot of its influence from the moto world. A lot of guys that are doing these performance style builds now are really installing a lot of these style parts that have a lot of moto influence to them. Here's a rear fan behind the rear cylinder. This is basically dissipating heat off the rear cylinder and circulating that air down and away from the rider. Here is a shot of the passenger pegs, endgame of course. And this bike also has a fan assisted oil cooler on here as well, which comes as part of that stage 4 kit along with the header pipe. The header pipe is a Screamin Eagle pipe that comes with the stage kit, which is kind of unique because in the past, like the 117 kits did not come with those two items. Here's a shot of the bars. These are the factory 47 signature bars. This is a 12-inch bar, and he's also got the Kahuna collection grips on here. I asked Jim why he didn't go with the full endgame collection on here, and he said he wanted the heated grips. So these are heated grips, which are only offered in the Kahuna among others. They are not offered in the endgame. So he did go Kahuna collection there. Here you can see the flush mount fuel cap and gauge. So yeah, it really cleans up the tank a lot there. And you can kind of see the inside of the cockpit here, and he went with a Lapera seat on here, kind of a cross-stitch design. Lapera makes really nice seats. They're usually low-profile seats that are just good quality. The comfort's decent on them. They're not really made for long-haul comfort. It's got a nice pocket, and it really keeps you in place when you're ripping on that 131 cubic inch engine. Here in the rear, you've got the custom dynamics turn signals. He's also got those in the front, so really bright turn signals. He also has a custom dynamics lower fender kit as well for that light and the low fender trim there. Here you've got the CFR mufflers. These are the dual fluted mufflers. So the CFR mufflers combined with the Screamin Eagle header pipe that comes with the Screamin Eagle kit, and yeah, this thing has a really awesome exhaust note on here. You've also got the mustache guard on there as well. The engine guard is a mustache guard. That's a Harley part. Here's a close-up of that Kraus inverted front end. Their work and craftsmanship and just finishes on the Kraus stuff is absolutely beautiful, second to none. I love the Kraus stuff. Their handlebars, I'm sure a lot of you have seen on my channel before. And here we go to the left side of the bike. You've got, again, more end-game stuff, your floorboards, your shifter peg. He's also got the Kahuna Collection derby cover to kind of tie in nicely with his grips on there. If you've been looking closely, you may have noticed all the bolts on the engine are all black as well. So Harley-Davidson offers a genuine Harley-Davidson part, a full black bolt engine kit as well, which he had installed. License plate is housed by a curved license plate bracket, kind of hugs the fender a little bit better. He's got the docking hardware on there as well in case he needs to put a passenger on the back. And yeah, this thing just came together nicely. He's got a lot of stuff that's powder coated on this bike as well, like your lower rocker box covers and your push rod tubes have all been black powder coated. It's a nice close-up shot of that end game stuff. Beautiful machining on this stuff. I love the end game. And yeah, this thing was just a ton of fun riding it with the full Olhins suspension, the 131. This thing was an absolute beast. And he did little things like the trim ring around the front headlamp and the turn signals as well. He's got the Dominion mirrors on there as well on the handlebars. So kind of like that coffin-shaped Dominion mirror goes really well with the blacked out nature of this bike. He's got some badges in the works. He was kind of bummed that he didn't have them on the day of the shoot here, but he's got some carbon fiber badges to go on the tank that are basically an outline of the bar and shield on there, real simple and basic in carbon fiber. So they should look really slick when they come out. And yeah, thing came out beautifully. And let's take this thing out, give it a rip, and I'll give you guys my thoughts on it. Another thing that I forgot to mention is this bike is equipped with the Mueller slave cylinders and hydro clutch for the M8. Basically what that does is it allows for a really easy clutch pull. It also really reduces the range of motion that is required for you to pull the clutch to engage and disengage the clutch plates. And so that was something that I had to get used to a little bit, but I got used to it pretty quickly. Here I had to take a quick pit stop because I realized my recorder was still on voice recording, and so that was way too much gain, and had to reduce the gain to basically get a lower, more true exhaust note before I got on the freeway. So the exhaust note was a little bit distorted when I first took off, but I fixed the problem, and you should get a pretty good idea of what this exhaust system sounds like when you're ripping it.
just bought my brand new Road King from Matt. I opted to go with the Road King. I've had the CVO Road Glide, I've had the CVO Street Glide, but they were a little big for me. I preferred having a little smaller bike because I'm a little smaller frame. So I went with the new 2020 Road King, and I did a kind of a super build. They don't make a CVO version of this, so I did my own. If you want to take a look at the front here, we did a wraparound fender, and we did the Olhins fork, front fork, the entire front fork, not just the drop in. And we also did the spoiler for the air cooler, or the oil cooler there. And I like that look because if you stand back, you can see the rake in the bike. It doesn't look quite as stumpy as it looks when it's stock. And of course, the Olhins provide an incredible ride. I've enjoyed other aftermarket shocks like Legends, but this is just an incredible suspension, both front and rear. Then of course we did the 131 build, the new kit, and unless you've ridden this, I can't describe the thrill that's involved in this engine. This is just really something. I took off the badging. I'm going to be putting a special carbon fiber, just the bar and shield logo on there. And then of course we did the custom dynamics, turn signals front and rear, and the Daymaker headlight. And back here we did the CFR double fluted slip-ons along with the new Harley header system that goes with the 131 kit. The Lapira seat, I'm always a fan of Lapira seats. They work well. We use the entire Endgame series for all of the foot controls. And then we also powder coated a number of items just to kind of keep that black theme going. I really like Softails. I like the way they handle, but I'm getting a little old for that. I like the rubber mounted motor, and I like what I can do with the suspension on a touring bike. And of all the touring bikes, this is the lightest. So I've really tried to turn it into a sport cruiser, which I think we've achieved with this build.
Alright guys, I want to go over some of the details and the most frequently asked questions on this 131 cubic inch Screamin Eagle build here. So first off, this engine kit is available for touring bikes only, and that's 17 or later model year touring chassis bikes. So basically if you have a Milwaukee 8 engine in a touring bike, you can get this engine kit. If you have a 107, then it will bump it up to a 128 cubic inch. Or if you have the 114 like shown in this video, or a CVO with a 117 engine, then it will bump it up to the 131. So let's jump into the parts real quick. So you get the cylinders, larger cylinders of course. You get the CNC ported heads. You also get 1mm bigger valves, which is kind of cool in the heads. New pistons, of course. You get a 64mm throttle body in this kit. You've got a new cam that Harley-Davidson developed for this kit as well. This is the SE, the Screamin Eagle 8 517 high lift cam. And you got some cool badging on here as well, which is one thing that they didn't have in the past, which I'm glad they included this time. But you've also got a header pipe, which is kind of new. And I unofficially classify this kit as the Gen 2 Stage 4 kit, because there can very easily be some confusion with the Gen 1 Stage 4 kit, which bumps all your displacements up to a 117. If you got a 107, it bumps it up to a 114. But previous to this launch of 131, you had a Stage 3 and a Stage 4 kit that bumped your bike up to either a 114 or a 117. And you didn't have some of the parts that you have in this kit, including the header pipe here. And you also had, you had to kind of choose your power delivery, which I'll go into in just a minute. But you have a header pipe with this kit, which I'm assuming is probably just for the larger volume, and also to make it EPA compliant, you probably had to have a larger cat in here, which is where it goes into 2-into-1 right here. So I'm assuming they needed the header pipe here for emissions purposes to make it EPA compliant. This kit, like I mentioned, is not CARB compliant yet, California Air Resource Board compliant yet, although they built it to be compliant. So a little bit of paperwork and a little bit of time, and we should see it approved for a California application here. So cross our fingers there. So if you don't have a twin cooled model, like you would see, you have like a Street Glide Special or Road Glide Special that's oil cooled, then you'll get this kit here that includes the fan assisted oil cooler. So that's also an additional part that we didn't see in the Gen 1, Stage 3, and Stage 4 kits. So let's talk a little bit about power, right? Power is the most important thing. So you've got 131 foot-pounds of torque at the rear wheel at about 4,000 RPM, and boy, do you feel it. This thing just pulls so hard. And that's, if you want to look in contrast, that's at about 111, 112 from a stock 117. They compare it to the 117, so we're comparing it to a Screamin Eagle here. So compared to the Screamin Eagle, you're getting about 20 more foot-pounds of torque, which is pretty huge. And then horsepower, they say here in the text that you're going to get 121 horsepower at the rear wheel, and it looks like that's going to be achieved at about 5,000 or 5,500 RPM, right around there. So yeah, this thing is an absolute beast. And let's talk a little bit about power delivery and kind of the torque curve and the area below the curve as they talk about it in the engine performance world. So on the Stage 3 and 4, you kind of had to make a conscious decision when you decided which of those kits that you got in the past. The Stage 3 kit was more along the lines of if you wanted the low-end torque and you really wanted the power delivery and the feel to be kind of coincide with what a stock Harley-Davidson felt like, that real low-end torque grunt where you had access to the torque really from at a low RPM, and very rarely did you have a need to race it out and drag the RPM all the way up to red line to access the power. Very few Harley riders rode like that. They would shift around maybe 4,000 RPM or so. Now the Stage 4 kit, that for Gen 1 Stage 4 kit, that was for the guys that really like to take their needle, their RPM all the way to red line and really access that high horsepower. But you didn't really feel the power come on real strongly until about 4,000 RPM. So that was for the guys that didn't mind downshifting. Maybe they wanted to ride their bike a little bit more in line with like a sport bike. Maybe they came from that world and they were used and more accustomed to riding like that. So it was either, okay, I want the low end torque or I want the high horsepower. And that's kind of oversimplified a little bit, but on this kit, you basically don't have to make that choice anymore. You've got the best of both worlds. You've got that low end, real strong torque delivery, and you've got that horsepower that you can access. You take it all the way to redline, and you really don't get any more horsepower out of this kit than you do the 117 Stage 4 Gen 1 build. Hopefully you guys are following me on that, but you just get gobs more torque at the low end than you do on that Gen 1 Stage 4 kit. So for that reason, they don't really have a 131 Stage 3 kit. I don't know if you guys noticed that or not, because you get the Stage 4 131 and you kind of get the best of both worlds. So I'll be curious to see what they do, with their next engine build, which probably won't come out for a long time now because this has been out less than a year at this point. But this is kind of like your no compromise, all in, just a beast of a motor. And what's really cool too is, since this is a Screamin Eagle product, it can be installed without any implications to the warranty as long as you install it within 60 days of owning your bike. Either that or by purchasing the Screamin Eagle warranty. If you are looking at the extended warranty, make sure you get the Screamin Eagle coverage. If you do that, you can install this engine within the term of your warranty, anytime within the term of your warranty, and it will be 100% recognized and covered by the factory. So I always recommend the Screamin Eagle stuff. There's really no risk. Can you get a little bit more power if you go to an aftermarket with an aftermarket tuner that's not EPA compliant and all that stuff? Yeah, absolutely. Is it worth a little bit more torque or a little bit more horsepower with basically forfeiting your warranty? No, absolutely not. I personally could never ever justify doing something aftermarket for a little bit more power to then totally throw away the vehicle's warranty, especially if I'm buying a brand new bike. That's just not a smart move, but maybe you're made of money and you do it, and that's fine. More power to you. But anyways, enough of that rant. Another pretty significant factor that you should take into consideration if you're thinking about a 131 Stage 4 is the fact that these bikes do have a governor on them. Basically, since the Milwaukee 8 came out in the 2017 model year, you have about 111, 112 mile per hour is where the steering stops and the governor kicks in, and it's electronically governed. You can't go beyond that. I've heard that aftermarket tuners can bypass that, so that would be one strong argument in the favor of going aftermarket and voiding your warranty, is if you want to go more than that 110 miles per hour. But yeah, with a 131, you hit that pretty quick if you're out there on the highway. Of course, getting there and everything in between is pretty dang awesome. But I've had some customers find that out the hard way, where they got these kits and they take it up to high speeds and realize that there is a governor there, and they wish they would have known that information before they bought the kit, let's just say that. So yeah, take that for what it is. If you're going to go more than 110, then you might want to really take that into consideration. The suspension on this bike, I'll just say after I rode it, it's awesome. I mean, anytime you go full Olhins on something like this, it's just the best of the best. And this bike definitely did not disappoint in that category as well, which when you're going this fast, then you really got to start thinking about brakes and suspension to really harness that power out on the road, and this bike definitely did that in spades. So anyways, my first ride on the 131 did not disappoint. I was a huge fan. I have a 107 personally. I'd like to get the 128 build maybe in the future, we'll see. But let me know what you guys think. If you're someone that has the Gen 1 Stage 3 or 4, let me know what you guys think and how this compares to those bikes, or maybe you are someone that has the 131 out there. Let me know what you personally think as a owner of the 131, or anything that I may have missed. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next video. Take care, guys. Later.